Fort Henry to see what had happened. And what he'd found had happened was that flagpole and that flag had suffered repetitious direct hits.
Hey guys, welcome back again to my YouTube channel. As always, I'm very excited having you guys tuned into this YouTube channel. So today we're going to be exploring Star Spangled Banner. As I told you guys previously, I'm going to be checking this out again. But one of the main reasons I'm checking it out is because I want to tell her about the history of America, as she didn't want to believe me. So stick around to the end. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment on this YouTube channel. Let's go.
There was a lawyer once. His name was Francis Scott Key. He penned a song that I'm sure you're aware of. You've seen it. It's in most hymnals throughout our churches. It's called the national anthem. It is our song as an American. We go, however, to a ball game. We stand in our church services and we sing the words of that song, and they float over our minds and our lips, and we don't even realize what we're singing. Most of us have memorized it as a child, but we've never really thought about what it means. Let me tell you a story. Francis Scott Key was a lawyer in Baltimore. The colonies were engaged in vicious conflict with the mother country, Britain. Because of this conflict and the protractedness of it, they had accumulated prisoners on both sides. The American colonies had prisoners and the British had prisoners. And the American government initiated a move. They went to the British and they said, let us negotiate for the release of these prisoners.
Wow.
Yeah.
They said, we want to send a man out to discuss this with you. They were holding the American prisoners in boats about 1,000 yards offshore. And they said, we want to send a man by the name of Francis Scott Key. He will come out and negotiate to see if we can make a mutual exchange. On the appointed day, in a rowboat, he went out to this boat and he negotiated with the British officials. And they reached a conclusion that men could be exchanged on a one-for-one basis. Francis Scott Key, jubilant with the fact that he'd been successful, went down below in the boats, and what he found was a cargo hold full of humanity, men. And he said, men, I've got news for you tonight. You're free.
Oh my God.
He said, tonight I have negotiated successfully your return to the colonies. He said, you'll be taken out of this boat, out of this filth, out of your chains. As he went back up on board to arrange for their passage to the shore, the admiral came and he said, we have a slight problem. He said, we will still honor our commitment to release these men, but it'll be merely academic after tonight. It won't matter. And Francis Scott Key said, what do you mean? He said, well, Mr. Key, he said, tonight we have laid an ultimatum upon the colonies. Your people will either capitulate and lay down the colors of that flag that you think so much of, or you see that fort right over there, Fort Henry? He said, we're going to remove it from the face of the earth. He said, how are you going to do that? He said, if you will, scan the horizon of the sea. And as he looked, he could see hundreds of little dots. And he said, that's the entire British war fleet.
Yeah.
He said, all of the gunpowder, all of the armament is being called upon to demolish that fort. It will be here within striking distance in a matter of about 2.5 hours. He said, the war is over. These men would be free anyway.
What?
He said, you can't shell that fort. He said, that's a large fort. He said, it's full of women and children. He says, it's predominantly not a military fort. They said, don't worry about it. They said, we've left them a way out. And he said, what's that? He said, do you see that flag way up on the rampart? He said, we have told them that if they will lower that flag, the shelling will stop immediately.
Can you imagine?
And we'll know that they've surrendered, and you'll now be under British rule.
Oh my God. That's too much to lose.
Francis Scott Key
You
went.
know, at this point, they are giving them an ultimatum. If they bring down the flag, they will now become a colony of the British, nation, and they will also release the prisoners.
But that was after the agreement they made.
That was after the agreement. They wanted to adjust it. They wanted to adjust it so that they can gain as much as they can, as they want in the agreement.
Went down below and told the men what was about to happen. And they said,
Sorry,
how
let's
many
take
of you
it
went
back so
down
that
British
we see.
rule?
We don't miss anything.
Yeah.
Francis Scott Key went down below and told the men what was about to happen. And they said, how many ships? He said, hundreds. The ships got closer. Francis Scott Key went back up on top and he said, men, I'll shout down to you what's going on as we watch. As twilight began to fall, and as the haze hung over the ocean as it does at sunset, suddenly the British war fleet unleashed. He says the sound was deafening. There were so many guns that there were no reliefs. He said it was absolutely impossible to talk or hear. He said suddenly the sky, although dark, was suddenly lit. And he says from down below, all he could hear the men, the prisoners, saying was, tell us where the flag is.
Oh my God.
What have they done with the flag? Is the flag still flying over the rampart? Tell us. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours into the shelling. Every time the bomb would explode and it would be close to the flag, they could see the flag in the illuminated red glare of that bomb, and Francis Scott Key would report down to the men below, it's still up. It's not down. The admiral came and he said, your people are insane. He said, what's the matter with them? He said, don't they understand this is an impossible situation? Francis Scott Key said he remembered what George Washington had said. He said the thing that sets the American Christian apart from all other people in the world is he will die on his feet before he'll live on his knees.
Exactly.
The admiral said, we have now instructed all of the guns to focus on the rampart to take that flag down.
Oh no.
He said, we don't understand something. Our reconnaissance tells us that that flag has been hit directly again and again and again, and yet it's still flying. We don't understand that.
Wow.
But he said, now we're about to bring every gun for the next 3 hours to bear on that point. Francis Scott Key said the barrage was unmerciful. All that he could hear was the men down below praying.
Oh my God.
The prayer. God, keep that flag flying where we last saw it. Sunrise came. He said there was a heavy mist hanging over the land, but the rampart was tall
And the
enough.
flag is still standing.
There stood the flag, completely nondescript, in shreds.
I don't know why I'm still getting emotional over
The
this.
flagpole itself was at a crazy angle, but the flag was still at the top.
Oh God.
Francis Scott Key went aboard and immediately went into Fort Henry to see what had happened. And what he'd found had happened was that that flagpole and that flag had suffered repetitious direct hits. And when hit had fallen, but men, fathers, who knew what it meant for that flag to be on the ground, although knowing that all of the British guns were trained on it, walked over and held it up humanly until they died. Their bodies were removed and others took their place. Francis Scott Key said what held that flagpole in place at that unusual angle were patriots' bodies. He penned the song, "Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming? Or the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that the flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet fly and wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? The debt was demanded. The price, it was paid."
Respect.
They're literally, oh, God. We're literally talking about the shelling that night. It was still there. Oh my God. Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord. You see, now you understand why whenever I talk about the US, I talk about them with so much passion,
Yeah, you
with
do.
so much energy. Is you know, they're a resilient people.
You see this thing called unity.
Yeah,
That's what the American have, because they could easily say they could let those people go and they will be fine, but they went back to fight for those people. That's where all this history came from. Because if they didn't go back to fight for their people, if they didn't take their people as an important, they will know American,
yeah,
and what they
precisely.
stand for will not be what they are standing for, because they were fighting for their freedom, and that was the place they discovered who they are.
It's so funny that something as simple as a flag made of clothes, but the representation of what it had means freedom, democracy, the will to fight, the will to come together when it all matters. They could have easily let the flag fall. It's just a
Yeah.
flag. It's just made of clothes.
But they died.
But they know the importance. They risk their life. Now you understand where my love for them is coming from.
And the part that really got to me is when the people captured started praying.
Started praying in
The
captivity.
captivity,
Like they're not praying for their freedom. They are praying for the
the
flag.
flag. It's just a cloth.
Exactly. Like they're praying for the flag. It's like me praying for my t-shirt.
They knew the importance. They were not thinking about themselves, but the future.
You know,
And that's all that matters.
precisely. Precisely. You know, I've when I saw this when I was talking, there was a video we reacted to recently, and I was talking about the Americans. After the end of the video, all of us started talking, and then we got into this conversation like why I love the Americans so much. Now you understand where my love is coming from.
Unity.
So thank you guys for sticking around to this part. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment on this YouTube channel. I have gotten a new lover of the US.
God.
she's definitely, you could see.
There's nobody that will watch this thing and they will not be loved.
So there was
So
a comment I read recently in my video saying that some of this story that was said in this Star Spangled Banner is debunked and other stuffs. You know, please clarify for me in the comment section. And still again, thank you guys for sticking around. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment on this YouTube channel. See you guys on our next update. For now, remain blessed and
bye.